Right, I'm here with my student Ermir, Kape, who's in MGD 415. He sent me a very interesting email, and sometimes what I like to do is turn these into little teachable points with a little video here. He said, I came across this article which points out 10 conversation etiquette mistakes people should avoid making. And the reason why I wanted to make a little bit of a deal about this is when I'm teaching in my classes the subjects, I sometimes feel kind of anxious that what I'm actually teaching is going to be out of date in a little while. But things like this come across and they can be very useful for 5-10 years from now. And part of it has to do with the simple fact that when you graduate and you're looking for a job and you're interacting with people who are 5, 10 years, 15 years older than you, it's important to understand etiquette types of things. Right. And I don't really think we have a course that specifically talks about that. So I always like to take little opportunities to add in things like interview tips, or at the end of the interview, if you have a question, this is what you can say, etc. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go down this little list, and me and Ermir are just going to talk about some of these things. Point number 10, changing the topic to suit your own interests.
Okay,
that's a good point.
Say we're having a conversation together and you're talking about business. I don't want to switch to politics, for example. I want to stay on topic so that we both have a enjoyable conversation. I don't want to seem like I'm in my own section of the conversation.
Right. So that's just politeness. If you're riding up the elevator with somebody, or you're standing with somebody at a conference, or let's say you're at a booth at a trade show, or that sort of thing. Okay. Point number 9, checking your phone.
Well, if you're interacting with somebody, you want to look at them in the face, right? You don't want to keep checking your phone and seem disrespectful. You want to seem like you're interested in what they're saying, even though you may not want to take away whatever they're saying. At least give them your attention for the time being.
Yeah, that's particularly important in European and Western societies, and also when you're dealing with people in their 30s and 40s. I mean, if there's two 23-year-old people and they're both going back and forth, that's okay because it's casual. But if you're at a seminar or at a business event or so on, it's important not to just keep looking down like that. That's a good point. Not knowing your audience. I agree strongly with that. You have to know who you're speaking to, and also their expectations.
Right. I like how you have a take on knowing your audience. For example, when you come to class every day, you know who you're speaking to. If you're at a different school, or if you're talking to 30-year-olds, or if you're talking to 40-year-olds, they have different expectations of what they want to hear from you.
Yes.
For example, we're more technological minded as opposed to 50-year-olds who want to talk more about the fundamental business topics rather than the upcoming trends.
That's a good point. The other thing too about knowing your audience is you can use it to your advantage. If you know somebody in the audience who's an expert about something because you did some lead-in questions that were allowed you to know that, then you can use them to support part of what you're talking about, so they become on your side. If you're ignorant of that and then you start talking, persons in the background start muttering, and then they may ask you a challenging question instead of being on your side. So that's another reason why you don't want to ignore that. One-upmanship.
Well, one-upmanship is about you trying to overdo or outdo the other person. For example, if you make a point, I should rather support it than try to deny your point and show that I'm right.
Yeah.
You may not agree with the person, but you don't have to show that you're necessarily better than them. You can try to prove your point in another manner, rather in a discussion.
Yeah, that's good. You find that a lot when guys are talking about sports. Someone says, oh, I know someone who did karate, and someone says, oh yeah, my cousin's brother's sister's brother's uncle is a black belt. Everybody knows somebody who's somebody, right? Yeah. They always add on things. Talking from your seat.
Well, this one I related it more to my own culture, or many other cultures for that matter, because if you're at a restaurant and your friend approaches you, somebody who you just happen to meet there, you don't want to sit there and look up at them while they're talking. You want to get up at their eye level and have a normal conversation with them.
That's a good point. Cursing.
We all love to curse from time to time, but you don't want to have an excessive in every conversation. Everything has its own part, its own purpose. So you want to seem intelligent in a conversation. You don't want to come across as somebody who just, who can't put his own words together, so he has to throw in a curse word.
Yeah, that's a good point. Looking over the shoulder.
Well, if I'm having a conversation with you, it would seem as if I'm ignoring you, completely missing all your points. If I'm looking over, for example, at another table, or somebody else talking behind you.
Good point. Not introducing the participants.
if we are all having a conversation and my friend is with me who you may not happen to know, it would be disrespectful if I didn't introduce you, because he may be somebody of interest to you or you to him. So we should all have a mutual conversation.
I find that young people are very casual about this, even among their friends, and you should take time to do that because it's important to help build up physical social. It's a lot better than friends on Facebook. Monopolizing the conversation. I find this is sometimes with people who are nervous, and sometimes young people are afraid that if there's a pause or any silence in the conversation that it's a bad thing, so they keep talking. And in other cultures, you don't want to interrupt, so you're waiting for the person to stop talking so you can say something, but if they don't stop, you don't get a chance to contribute. They monopolize.
You also don't want to monopolize because you don't want to come across as an arrogant person. You don't want to say, this is what I say and this is what is right. You want to give the other person a chance to speak their mind and have their own opinion.
I agree. And sometimes we talk about people who are great communicators. Actually, my experience is I find that people say the word, oh, the person is great at communicating, because they shut up and listen. Not because they talk, but because they listen. So I find that older people often will say a young person is a good listener or a good communicator because they let the information come to them instead of thinking about broadcasting. And the final point is interrupting.
Interrupting. Well, if you're in the middle of, for example, if you started a conversation with somebody and you're trying to make your point or tell a story, your best point may be yet to come, or the climax of the story is yet to come. So you don't want to interrupt somebody when they could be saying the best part of what you want to hear. So you don't want to disrupt their moment of thinking by bringing something else into the conversation.
Yeah.
You could do this. You could do this by talking or bringing out your phone or calling somebody else over. I think it's better to, keep it in the conversation while the person is done, and then continue with something else.
Good point. And I'm looking at my phone as we do this. Ermir, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And this URL for this thing that you sent to me comes from www.mint.com blog how to conversation etiquette. Appreciate that. It's very valuable. Thank you very much.